What is going on YouTube? This is your boy crobbyrob. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys exactly how you can get your first handstand from home as a complete beginner. The handstand is an essential calisthenics skill that everybody should learn. Even if you're not into calisthenics, a lot of people want to learn how to get their first handstand. But it can be kind of confusing to know where or how to get started and what the best way to kind of tackle your handstand is. After training calisthenics for 7 years myself, helping multiple people improve and get their first handstand, I'm going to break down the exact process that we use to actually accomplish this and give you guys some really good insights into what to focus on when you're doing your first freestanding handstand. As always guys, if you enjoy these styles of videos, please do me a big favor, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, drop a comment down below and leave a like because it only helps me grow and keep making videos like this one for you guys. Now without further ado, let's jump straight in, and the handstand really has 3 major components to getting your first handstand. There's the strength aspect, which is can you hold yourself up against a wall for time in a handstand position. I would say if you can do at least 20 to 30 seconds, then you are by far strong enough to actually hold a freestanding handstand. Second element that's essential for doing your first handstand is the balance, and it is by far the hardest part of the movement. Now in this video, we're gonna go over a ton of tips and tricks to help you with your balance and really help you get your first freestanding handstand in the best, quickest way possible. Ultimately, balance is one of those things that nobody can just give you balance. You're going to have to learn by doing it and feeling the balance in your hands, and over time you will build the balance that it takes to land your first freestanding handstand. The last component is simply the flexibility and the mobility. A lot of people who are strong enough to hold a handstand and have some of the balance still struggle because they aren't flexible and mobile enough to get into the proper handstand position. In a handstand, we want to stay stacked with our hips, shoulders, and wrists, but we'll go more into that later in this video. So now that you know what it takes to do your first freestanding handstand, you're ready to just do it, right? Not necessarily. Let's slow down. I'm gonna give you guys the exact process of what you should focus on with the exercises so that you can actually get to your first freestanding handstand. Now that we're at this point though in our training for the handstand, understand that this is a process and this is exactly the best way to tackle your handstand. What we're going to want to do is focus on kicking up against the wall. We're going to use both back to wall and stomach to wall, but to start, I actually think doing back to wall handstand is the best way to go about it. At first, you're going to work simply on kicking up against the wall and holding for time. Once you can comfortably hold for about 30 seconds for multiple sets, then we really want to start to pull one foot off the wall at a time and do these sort of alternating toe taps against the wall. What this is doing is it's training your body to get into the proper position in the handstand with that extra support of that other foot so that you're not fully doing it on your own. If this is super easy and you can still hold for a pretty good amount of time, at least 20 seconds, and you're not really struggling with the balance side of things or the alternating at all, then I would go ahead straight to pulling both feet off. All you're simply going to do is kick up against the wall, pull both feet off the wall, and your feet are most likely, when you're first learning, going to fall right back into the wall. Now I know what you're thinking, but Corey, how does this help me actually get my handstand? Well, simply because, as we mentioned earlier, if we were to do this freestanding, you're not going to be getting any time under tension in the movement. But when we use the wall for support, even though our feet are falling into the wall, we're wasting a lot less energy to pull them off the wall than kicking back up fully all the way. So every time we pull our feet off the wall, we're getting a small amount of time under tension within the handstand and working towards better balance. Now the keys at this point in time are simply going to be focusing on, when we're doing our handstand training, you're going to really want to focus on not just pulling your feet off the wall, but actually feeling the balance within your hands. So let's talk hand positioning. When we kick up against the wall, we want to focus on using a claw-like grip. Don't keep your fingers flat together. A claw grip is going to allow you to actually press into the ground a lot better and have better control in the movement. You're going to want to turn your hands slightly outward. I like to do a little bit less than a 45-degree angle. And then you're really going to want to focus on pushing into the ground with your fingertips and your palms. What this is going to do is it's actually going to be creating your balance. Balance doesn't just magically happen. We balance ourselves. Think of it like this. If you were to stand on both your feet and put one foot out in front of you, what happens? Your foot starts rocking back, forth, side to side in order to stabilize and keep your body upright. You don't notice it, but the same thing's happening with both feet on the ground. We've just gotten so comfortable to this that we don't even notice it in our day-to-day. So doing a handstand is the exact same thing. When we're upside down in a handstand and we're trying to balance, we're actually rocking back and forth between our fingertips and our palms. What this is doing is it's actually creating balance so that we can appear to be fully stable and still. So when we're doing our handstand training against the wall, it's going to be super important to focus on this and actually start to feel the balance in your hands. Once you guys can feel the balance in your hands, you're really close to getting that full freestanding handstand consistently. This is the biggest key step, and it will be the biggest noticeable change within your training. You will go from just randomly kicking up against the wall and pulling your feet off to starting to actually feel the balance in your hand and progressing that. Once you get to this point, I definitely think it's a good idea to switch to stomach to wall. What this is going to do is it's actually going to teach you the proper handstand positioning, as you can pull your hands a lot closer to the wall while not creating an arch or getting yourself out of position. Stomach to wall will allow you to get into the proper handstand position and maintain it throughout the movement. Now you just need to work on holding in this position, and I would actually go as high up as 30 or 40 seconds. Now is a great time we're gonna make that switch to the freestanding. Now when you're first learning the handstand, I actually think it's a really good idea to only focus and learn on the ground. The parallettes are a lot easier to pick up, which might make them more attractive when you're first learning, but it doesn't translate as well as how you stabilize yourself is a little bit different on the parallettes. Whereas when you learn on the ground, it does translate. Learning on the parallettes doesn't necessarily translate to the ground. Not that it can't, it just doesn't always work like that. So I would focus on getting your ground freestanding handstand first. All in all, guys, you need to understand that the handstand is definitely a journey. There's no way to get around the balance, and this is the absolute best way to learn the balance. I personally recommend at least training your handstand 30 to 40 minutes a day, at least 2 times a week. Most people won't tell you this either, but the toll it actually takes on your wrists when you're first learning can be quite strenuous. You guys need to make sure that you're treating your rest and recovery properly in order to get the most out of your training. Some people do the grease the groove method, which they have a lot of success with, which is basically where you practice randomly throughout the day, multiple times a week, almost every day. While I've personally done this, I don't think that it's the best way. I think keeping a structured training routine, training 2 times a week for 30 to 40 minutes with dedicated training is ultimately going to get you exactly where you need to be. You can definitely try out both and see what works for you. I know when I was first learning my handstand, it took me about 8 months to really get comfortable within the handstand movement. Mind you, even once I got comfortable, there were still times where my handstand training was super inconsistent. You guys are going to have to learn that inconsistency happens when you're first learning, and over time it does clean up and get better. The best way to get your handstand is to treat it like practice and show up and practice as much as possible. Take the proper rest, listen to your body, and you guys will be well on your way to getting your first handstand. Do me a big favor, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe, share this with a friend, and helps promote the channel and helps me create these videos for you guys. Let me know in the comments down below what exercise you want me to cover next. It's been C. Robbie Rob, and I'll catch you guys on the next C. Robbie Rob video.